What if the way you've been telling your life story reveals the secret to what is holding you back? Stories play an integral part in how we see not only ourselves, but the whole world. Stories are more than just an important part of communication. They also reveal hidden aspects of our inner talk, which can either support us or end up holding us back from the very things we want most in life, without us even realizing it. Join author, mindset coach, and award-winning singer-songwriter Carrie Rowan on her show, Look for the Good, every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. when she shares nuggets of wisdom from her internationally best-selling book, Tell a New Story, 5 Simple Steps to Release Your Negative Stories and Bring Joy to Your Life. Carrie's powerful stories and compelling guests will empower you to change how you look at your own life while giving you some powerful tools and tips you can use every day to help you feel better and move yourself closer to the life you've been longing to live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Carrie Rowan, your host of Look for the Good on syndicated Dreamvision7 Radio every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You can listen online or on your mobile device or in your car, or even ask Alexa to play Dreamvision7 Radio. To learn more and for a full schedule, go to www.dreamvision7radio.com and evolve with us as we unite humankind in universal love. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Look for the Good. And as always, what we do here is we find a way to look for our good, because why? Our brains are so perfectly predisposed to look for what is not good. So we got to get in there. We got to rewire that stuff, right? And we talk a lot about our stories. And I can't wait to introduce our special guest, Lora, who's waiting in the wings for you. And we're going to talk about today one of my favorite topics, which is the turnaround story. Everybody loves the turnaround story, right? And hello, I'll just say hello, Lora, as you're sitting over there. Welcome, Lora.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. And so I love talking about the turnaround story. So the turnaround story is that story. It's that big story that you're afraid to tell anybody. It's the story that you think is so awful and so embarrassing and so filled with shame. Oh my God, you could never tell anybody the story, right? We all have one of these. We might even have multiple turnaround stories. But the turnaround story is sometimes called the comeback story in sports, right? The Cinderella story, if you will. There's a lot of different names for it, but it's that story. And you know the one I'm talking about. So as we're talking today with Lora and we unravel some of her story and her biggest turnaround story and how it ended up leading her down this path in life she couldn't have imagined without that happening. Right, Lora?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And so that's what I love about the turnaround story. I have a whole chapter in my book dedicated to the turnaround story because it's that important. It's so important. And I always tell people that the secret to what's holding you back in life is the way you tell your life stories, right? It's the way you share those stories or don't share those stories. Or it's those little stories that we make up in our head that half the time they're not even true, right? And so those are the ones we have to get in and understand what they are and ask ourselves the hard questions. Hey, why am I telling myself this story? This is not even true. So that's the coolest thing I love about this work, because once you start to become aware of those stories, you can't go back to being unaware. So let's start to unravel it. Let me read Lora's bio, because she's super interesting and she's just like a super talent. So you have to hear all about her. So Lora Cheadle is an attorney, a TEDx speaker, and a betrayal recovery expert who works with those who've been betrayed by their intimate partner and want to move through the soul-shattering shock and devastation and be okay again. Her life choreography, I love that, life choreography betrayal recovery process empowers clients to build their identity, rebuild their identity, I should say, and self-worth so they can move towards with confidence. They want to move forward with confidence in themselves and to be able to trust the world again. And I love that. And I feel that. And I know a lot of you can relate to that in many, many ways. We've all been betrayed at some point in our lives. So welcome, Lora.
Thank
again.
you, Carrie. I'm so happy to be here and talk about all this wonderful, juicy stuff.
And I love your bio. It's so incredible. I love how you started off as an attorney. Like, I totally get that, because I thought I was going to do that too, and took my LSATs after college and all that. And then life just tends to bring us in a different direction, right? And so share with us a little bit about what you didn't expect that happened. You know, you were going to be a lawyer, and what happened there? What was your pivot that you made?
Yeah, well, I practiced law for 10 years, and I thought that women could have it all. I thought we could do it all. I thought we could have these amazing power careers. We could do yoga. We could be relaxed. We could see our girlfriends. We could be wives and moms and all of that good stuff. And I had this point 10 years in where I had a 22-month-old. I had a newborn. I had 3 out of my 4 grandparents in hospice. And my husband had a job where he was traveling 2 weeks out of every month. And it was just like, oh my gosh, something has got to give. And I don't really want it to be my sanity.
Exactly.
So that was the point. That was kind of my first turnaround story where I just had to walk away. I just had to stop. And I did. I walked away from a really lucrative, enjoyable corporate career. And I started working with other women mostly who were at that same place that I was, who thought they could do it all and were finding themselves completely exhausted. And I started doing, kind of my own part-time mom wellness business. And, that worked great. That worked great for many, many years. I was teaching yoga and fitness and doing hypnotherapy and all of this great stuff. And right as my youngest was about to graduate from high school, I was like, I made it. I can finally start traveling with my husband. I can finally lean into all the wonderful things that I want to do. My life is opening up. That's when I found out my husband had been cheating on me for 15 years. Right at that point where I had made it and everything was going to get good.
Oh my.
And yeah.
Yeah, that is unbelievable because you thought you were right at that stage, right? You're just ready to launch out. You finally get some freedom. You did it. You got the kids through school.
Yes.
I totally get that. And your kids were so close in age as were mine. And that's, we could have a whole show on that because that is a very unique struggle as well. And, somebody told me having 2 babies like that really young is super isolating. And I didn't get that until I got that, right? Like, because we're go, go, go. And that's amazing. So how did you deal with that? How did you turn that around, Lora?
Yeah, let me tell you, that's a big one because it touches every single area of your life. It's not just like, oh, one little thing went wrong. No, my entire identity, my entire everything that I had worked for, everything that I had sacrificed for, everything was not as I thought that it was.
Yeah.
So I spent a couple weeks on the floor in tears, trying to wrap my head around it. Because one of the things that people don't talk about is you literally go into shock. It's not like, oh, I was so shocked. No. You're in shock. To find out you're telling me the past 15 Christmases, anniversaries, vacations, you're telling me none of that was real. Wait, what? You go into shock.
Mm-hmm.
And shock happens even before grief. And you just need that time to let your body and your entire system acclimate. And somewhere along that line, where I was laying on the floor, just crying and sobbing and trying to get myself through, it really dawned on me that the choice was mine, what I did with this.
Mm-hmm.
I could truly let this ruin me, and I would be justified in letting this ruin me. I could be bitter. I could be angry. I could hate on people. I could turn my kids against my husband. I could turn all my friends and family. I could make this really vicious. Or I could do something else with it. And I wasn't quite sure what something else meant, but I really was acutely aware that I had a choice. And I thought, you know what? Now is the opportunity. Everything's already broken. Now's my opportunity to rebuild. I don't have to break things. I get to rebuild. This is a huge gift. And now is the time that I can look within and I can start thinking about all of those things that I never addressed along the way. All of those things that I just got busy and covered up and brushed aside. And maybe now's my time to address that because everything's in a shambles anyway.
Mm.
And that's what I started doing. Let's look at everything for the past really 23 years. Because we had been married 23 years at that point. Let's just start uncovering.
That's amazing. I love that. I love the way you took your power back, which is really hard to do. It sounds easy now when we can look back, right? But it's not. It's a big decision to say, wait a second, I'm going to take 100% responsibility of that. I love that mindset of taking the responsibility and saying, I have a choice here. I can go down this path of resentment and you'd be totally justified. Absolutely 100%. Nobody would question you on that, right? Or you can take that higher road and take a look at, oh, wait a second. Like you're saying, what you're really saying is, what was my part in this, right? Which is so hard because we want to blame because we didn't do that. We're over here trying to run the family and do all this,
Right.
So that's,
and even those things that really had nothing to do with the marriage. My tagline in my work is that betrayal uncovers the truth of everything that you have refused to see and address in yourself. And just all the ways I didn't own my power.
I love that. That's one of the things I wrote down. I love that tagline because it uncovers it. And there's a certain sense of relief that comes, right? It's a weird thing. I wrote a song about this once, but there's a sense of relief. It's release and it's relief knowing the truth. It gives you clarity. And I love that. Clarity to decide, just like you said. So take us down that. So you had a choice. You could decide. And you decided to go down the path of looking inside. I love that. How did that change your life? How did that change your perspective on this whole entire devastating news that you had?
It changed everything. There literally was not one area of my life where it didn't change things. But what it did is it made me curious about so many different things. It allowed me to finally start looking at myself. And, all the times we say, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to see a counselor, or I don't have time to get my nutrition in shape. I don't have time to do. I've got time. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to take the time because now it's about me. And it also really put me in a different space with my husband because it wasn't about blame. It was about what's really going on with you. What's really happening, because we had a lot of fun together. We did have a really good marriage. If we had all this fun together and we had a really good marriage, why would this happen? What's really going on? And it just allowed me to expand and to get curious. And then we started having conversations. This is what was going on. He started sharing things that was going on with him that I didn't know. We started talking. We started talking with the kids more. Not that we shared intimate details with them, but we started really talking. Mental health. My husband had a very traumatic childhood. He had a lot of triggers. He has a lot of damage from the significant trauma. He was a former foster child. So he had covert male depression, which is a thing. We started talking about it. We started sharing that with the kids. We started addressing things within ourselves. These are the ways I distracted. These are the things where I cut people out. And we just had conversations without blame, without judgment. It also really allowed me to step into my business because my brand before, it's the same brand, but it's all about find your sparkle, create a life you love. Well, before those were the high notes. That was the big, glorious part about it. Having this, how do you balance that? If you've got a brand about all the high notes, what do you do with the low notes? You integrate them and it makes it resonate in such a richer, more beautiful, authentic way. I learned how to own my shadow. I learned how to bring the depth of that pain into the highs of my joy. So my entire experience was richer and fuller.
That's beautiful what you just said. You learned how to bring the depth of that pain into a higher experience. And I always tell clients, if you can assign a higher meaning to your pain, then it dissolves, right? And that for me, and you're talking my language as a life choreographer, and you're talking about the high notes and the low notes and the harmony somewhere in between, that's what it's all about. And that's where the beauty comes. I wouldn't have my first album if I didn't have the gut-wrenching, on your knees pain that was thrown at me in my life. And then that's where a lot of that springs out, right? You can only stay down there in those lower vibrations for so long. And you need to find a way to bring that up and add, like you're saying, the depth to your own life. And I think the truth, whether we want to hear it or not, is the piece that can add that to our lives, like you're saying.
Yeah. And no, it's not fun. It's not fun. And that's okay. And it's also deeper than you have to know the bad in order to know the good. It's deeper than that. It connects you with other people. My experience was infidelity. It could be emotional abuse. It could be verbal abuse. It could be sexual assault. It could be all of these different things. It doesn't matter what your pain is and what your experience is. It's that heart-centered connection that we've all been on the floor, that we've all maybe wanted to die. It's been that bad, that we don't know how to get through. We've all been there. And that's such a human connection. And until we talk about it, then we feel isolated. We feel like something is wrong with me and something is not wrong with you. That's the human experience. Let's talk about it.
You are not alone, right? And that's a main reason that I felt safe to put my songs out there. We sing about things we would never actually say sometimes, just to connect with others, to let others know that they're not alone, right? Just like which is what you're saying. Because that's the big piece of it. When especially for the younger generation, I feel like they're a lot more isolated than we were growing up. And that's the main theme. They feel like something's wrong with them because they don't talk about it. Social media here and there, everything looks beautiful, but everybody's brain works the same. We're all like that. We're all wired to look for what's wrong. And when you get fixated on that, you feel like something must be wrong with me. All these great things are happening in my life. Why do I still feel depressed or still feel this or that? And I love your message to let people know that they're not alone and that they can share those stories and the depth of their pain, because we've all been on the floor. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, absolutely. And also a big piece of that is the bad things do happen to good people, because that was so hurtful for me. I kept thinking, but I tried so hard. I did try to be the perfect wife. I did try to be the perfect mom. I did stay up late. I did push through. I tried. And when I found out this happened, it was almost like this slap in the face, like, oh, Lora, you didn't try hard enough. You didn't do a good enough job. And just to have that realization that, you know what, you can try your hardest and it can still not work out. And it's not a fault-based thing. That was a big one for me because we're used to getting the gold stars.
It's so true. Oh my God. We want the gold star, damn it.
Yes.
We have to have the gold star.
Yes. And I didn't get it.
Yeah. And especially as women, you got the platinum star, baby. You did. Especially as women, we are brought up to believe that we have to be all those things. We have to overachieve, and we've got to look good doing it all too, right? When we're on that floor crying, we better damn well be dressed well and have our nice shoes on, right?
Cry pretty.
And that's just the ridiculous socialization of women, right? And the fact that we can just drop that. We don't have to carry that. We don't have to wear those labels. We can be all that, and we could be messy, and we can have smudged mascara, right? Or no mascara at all for that point. Right. But I love that. You're giving other women permission to step into their truth. And I think that is one of the most empowering things ever.
Yeah. And it's not easy, but once you do it, it is so refreshing and it's so powerful that it becomes easier. And you're like, whoa, why was I even all hung up on all these things before? It doesn't matter.
It's so true. It doesn't matter. And that which does not kill us makes us stronger, right? And we can always glean the lesson in something. And I love what you said about getting curious, because I think that's a huge part, and it's a great mindset. And that's how we start to ask better questions, right? Instead, it's so easy to blame. But when we do that, we shut our minds off, right? We go into that fight or flight. But when we get curious and we say things like, I wonder what I've missed here. I wonder what else is possible. What else could be true here that I haven't seen, right? These great questions, good in, good out, and so don't go anywhere, everybody. I know you're hanging on Laura's every word. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk more about that curiosity mindset. We'll be back after a message from our sponsors. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Look for the Good. And I'm here with Lora Cheadle. We're having the most incredible conversation here. We're just talking about that curiosity mindset. You know, that mindset where you ask yourself better questions. You start to get curious about situations instead of angry or mad or some of those lower vibrations. When you raise it up to curiosity, it's amazing what is revealed to you, right? So I think Lora would agree with that. And she had to use a lot of her curiosity to really dig down in there and find out some of the truth behind the whys, right? Because we need to know that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your book, Flaunt, because it's so powerful and so amazing. Tell us, what inspired you to write that book? And what is the biggest message that women can get from reading your book?
Yeah. Oh, great question. The book, the subtitle is Flaunt. Drop your cover and reveal your smart, sexy, and spiritual self. And the big message behind the book is that there are so many facets of who we are. We are all smart. We are all sexy. We are all spiritual. And it's so easy to get locked into this mindset that I am a mom and I am these things, or I am an accountant and I am these things, or I am whatever. And we cut off all of those different pieces of our identity. And the truth is, whether we're comfortable with all aspects of who we are or not, we still are all of that. We're all selfish. We're all selfless. We're all kind. We're all snotty. We're all of it. We have all of those pieces. And the problems come in when we're not aware that they're masks. And that when we're not able to get metaphorically naked and accept exactly who we are.
Whoa. I love that. That is so powerful. I talk about the shadow work in my book as well. Makes me think of Debbie Ford, right?
Mm-hmm.
The dark side of the light chasers. And that's just it. We can all be everything. And I love the way it ties in with our stories, because behind all those stories is a reason why we're telling it. And that's where a lot of this comes into play, right?
Absolutely.
Our true intentions. And when we can get honest with ourselves and say, you know what, I'm really telling that story because I don't want to tell this person I'm pissed at him, but I'm pissed at him. So I'm going to tell this little passive aggressive story, right? To get my message out. And so when we peel back those stories and ask ourselves why we're telling them, there's always a reason that we tell them. And the intention behind our story changes our story dramatically.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right? I love that.
Yeah.
And I know you do work with clients, and this is a huge piece of it. And sometimes I think it's really hard for people to accept that they have a shadow side.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And how I go about it in my book to make that a little bit easier, you've got the music, dance is my thing. And I use the analogy of burlesque. And the burlesque is removing the layers. So if you think about, the glamorous woman in a long ball gown with a feather boa and long silk gloves, it's peeling off the gloves. What do you reveal? It's teasing with the boa. Take that off. What do you reveal? It's, dropping and unzipping this gorgeous gown, and you've got a corset and you've got stockings and you've got a garter belt. It's peeling back all these layers and teasing and having fun with it. It's not about, I'm going to rip that off of you. It's flirting with yourself. It's teasing with yourself. It's what's going to happen if I get rid of this boa? Ooh, that felt good. What's going to happen with this glove? Ooh, let me just little bit at a time, because underneath we're all just bodies. We all have bodies. They're all imperfect and they're all perfect that way. Let's just tease, and in our own timing and with our own power, start stripping down and showing ourselves to ourselves, and maybe to others if we're comfortable.
I love that, because the most important relationship ever in our whole in life that we need to master. We're always looking outside of ourselves, right? We're in an externally focused world so much. We don't take that time to look inside. And it's the relationship with us and our higher self. It's just us and our higher self. That's it. That's the one relationship. Because when you work on that one and you make that one in alignment and you fix that one, well, then all your other relationships just fall into place, right? Would you agree with that?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. And yeah, we all want to make it about somebody else. Me with my kids, me with my partner, me with my spouse, me with my coworker, me with my, no, me and me.
Me and me. I love that. And when we get to know ourselves, then we can love those part of ourselves that we've really abandoned, and sometimes you think of it as like a house with a bunch of locked rooms. No, I'm never going to be that. Oh, I'm not going to be that. Oh, that my mom was that. I'm not going to be that. Or my sister, whatever it is, right? So we close those doors on ourselves. And the truth is we need to open it all back up. We need to air that out. We need to sweep it out. We need to feng shui those houses inside of our heads, you know?
Oh, I love that. Uh-huh.
Instead of in our real houses, like we spend a lot of time making everything perfect there.
Yeah. And then when we really know who we are, then we do attract the right people. Because if
Yeah.
I am, going with the glamorous woman analogy, if somebody thinks that is me, gloves, bow, a long dress, heels, that's not really me. So I will attract somebody who thinks that's me. And maybe they're the same way. They're covered, they're masked. And then we can't unmask because there's nothing there. We don't resonate at that level. So we want someone who resonates at our core, metaphorically naked level. And then we can put masks on, we can take masks off, but we always can return to that core. And then that connection is authentically there.
I love that. And then you can be authentically who you are and give
Mhm.
other people permission to be who they are. And that's what I love about it. I mean, it kind of ties in with my work as well, because when we can get real about the stories and I can really tell you what's really going on, then I'm giving you permission to really tell me who you are. Like you said, take that mask off, right? After you've done the work on yourself, it's way easier to do that with somebody else and allow them to reveal who they really are.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's super powerful.
Yeah. And that's that joy, because it's the joy of knowing I'm worthy, I'm worth it.
Yeah, I
And so
love
are
that.
you.
I love that. Embracing the joy. I'm all about the joy too. We have so much in sync together. And I love, so one of the things you sparked in my head here that I want to talk a little bit about is the fact that you're talking about resonating with and attracting the people who are on the same vibration. We talk a lot about the emotional guidance scale, right? Where you are on that in the lower vibration. But what I find most interesting is that, and I can totally relate to this, is that sometimes the people who have caused our biggest change, if you will, are the people that we do resonate with on a very deep level. You stayed with your husband, right? And I understand that. But when you can reveal yourself, and you strip away all that other stuff, there was definitely something there in the beginning that was the true attraction. And a lot of times I think, and there's a line in one of my songs, is that, we want to run when things like that happen, right? We just want to run away and we don't want to face it. We just, as soon as things get hard, we want to pick up and go.
Mhm.
Maybe that's what it means to really love somebody, is to see all sides of them.
So well said. Because when I first found out my husband left, he literally, talk about fight, flight, or freeze. Bam, he was out of there. And I was so glad he was out of there because I didn't want to be with him. And we started missing each other and we started getting curious and we started talking. And like you said, what's really going on? What's the story? And for the first time, he started sharing about this intense pain that he had inside, about this intense fear of abandonment, about all of the shame that he wasn't good enough. And it was like, oh my gosh. So at that point, we had been married 23 years, and you had never shared with me, and I had never shared with you how badly we wanted the other's approval, how we both wanted to try to make the other person happy with us, and how that started spiraling down. And now I know the worst parts of him. I know the worst thing he's ever done. And he knows the worst parts of me. And we still honor and respect and love each other even more because of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you hear stories like that Somebody will say, cancer or the affair or some illness or some crash was the best thing that ever happened to them. And you're scratching yourself and trying to understand why, but you can get to it. It's brought you to a deeper level of love. And that's how you understand that. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it was that mindset, right? And we're carrying through with what we said before, is that curiosity mindset, because he got curious. You started to miss each other. There's real love there, right?
Right. Right. And then the willingness of, what do I need to do the work? What does he need to do to address his trauma so he won't act out again? The acting out hurt him. Here's a little mind twist. Did him having an affair hurt me? Yes, but it hurt him deeper.
Wow.
He went against his core self. His soul didn't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It was acting out in pain. So yes, it impacted me, but it also impacted him.
That's so huge. And I think that would be hard for a lot of people to bring in and accept, because they're in so much pain. And when you're in pain, you're in fight or flight. It's just survival, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so for you to be able to understand that and to be able to hear what he said compassionately, have a compassionate conversation. Compassionate communication is one thing I think that's missing in this world with so much division, right? And so for you to be able to sit there and openly take that in and kind of sort of hold your own pain, but hold space for him, because obviously that behavior is because somebody is driven by pain.
Yes. Yes.
And that is so, so powerful. And I love that transformation. You're giving me goosebumps over here. That is so powerful. And if you could give somebody a piece of advice, just one little tip that could help them, if they're on the floor right now and they can't see that moment, what would you suggest?
I think the biggest thing that I want people to know is to not rush it, to just continue to breathe, to just be with yourself, to be with your pain, and just to know that expansion is there. And when you are ready to start expanding and seeing all sides of everything, you will, but to not rush yourself and to just hold yourself with all the tenderness and care that you can. Because I do think when we rush, that's when it's really harder to start seeing things with love and compassion and oneness, because we want out of it so bad. We want out of it so bad. Got to be with it. Got to be with it.
That's so true. I feel like in this day and age, and I see it a lot with the younger generation, they don't want to feel the feelings, right?
Nope.
They're so used to being distracted by these that they just run back to that, or they run to the next thing, or maybe I'll go for a run, or I'll go, everything to distract. When really that's the only way that feelings flow through us, is when we can acknowledge them, give it a name, and say, it's okay that I'm feeling that. It's okay to be angry. Again, us women, we're taught not to be angry. Nice girls aren't angry. Right? We're not bitter. We're not snotty. We're not any of those things, but we really can be. And it's okay to be that. Give it a name, allow yourself to feel it. Where in my body do I feel that feeling right now? Right? Put it in the body and then watch how it passes so much quicker without rushing it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes it takes shorter. And I had so many people say to me, oh my gosh, you healed so quickly. I healed so quickly because I embraced the process, because I would lay on the floor. I would feel so nauseous sometimes over it. I would cry to the point that I wouldn't quit crying. I allowed myself to do what I needed to do, and I honored my body's process. And yes, if I needed to get up and sometimes just dance it out, perfect. If I needed to just cry, perfect. If I needed to take a walk, perfect. I was with it, and I let the grief guide. I let the shock guide. I let the process guide. I didn't guide it.
That is so powerful, because a lot of times I think we want to take control and guide things. I'm okay. I'm fine. And we stuff it away somewhere in one of those locked up rooms, but it always comes back or comes out sideways when we do that.
Yeah.
And that's worse, as if we could have addressed it, right? Felt it, held on to it, experienced it, moved with it. Like you're saying, I love the dancing with it. And I would sing my way through it, write a song about it, journal about it, whatever works for people.
Mhm.
But just to be with it.
Yeah.
So, it's really super powerful. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. We have another word from our sponsor. I know you guys want to hear more from Lora, so come right back. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Look for the Good. And I'm here with Lora Cheadle, and we are having the most incredible, intense, beautiful conversation. And we were talking about just what you can do, how you have to embrace what you're going through, embrace that emotion. And one of the things that Lora does that I really love is she's a life choreographer. We talked about that. And she uses dance. Tell us how you danced your way through some of this grief.
I love the analogy of dance. First, because I love to dance, but also because dancing it can be a partnership, and people come in and you can dance with them, and sometimes it works well and sometimes it doesn't. And then you just roll on and you move on to the next thing. And if you've ever watched dance, whether it's the Rockettes, whether it's musical theater, whether it's, Dancing with the Stars, dance is something that looks easy, and it's not.
So true.
And it's something that flows, and you move seamlessly from one thing to the next, and it creates this cohesive whole story. And our life is a dance, and our life is a cohesive whole story. And I love how you talk about the stories. And it's, what is the dance that you're creating? What is the story that you're telling? To dance with the music changes. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it's fast. Sometimes it's atonal. What are you going to do to move in sync with that? When people come in, when they go out, what are you going to do? Because ultimately, like we talked about earlier, it's all you. And how you dance with others, how you dance with yourself is the choice that you make. But how can you make it more seamless? How can you make it meaningful? How can you infuse it with beauty? Because ultimately, isn't that what we want? Is these just beautiful lives? And when we stumble, how do we get back?
I love that. That's so powerful, because they do stumble. Sometimes you miss the catch, right? Like, I mean, that's going to happen, but it doesn't mean the dance is over.
No.
It just means you had to pick yourself back up. Maybe you need, to change your outfit or get a different pair of shoes for the dance, but the dance is not over. It's always a dance. I love that.
And it's fun. That's the thing. So many
Yeah.
people are like, I'm climbing this next hill. And you're like, yeah. Or you could be dancing your way up the hill. It's just an
Yeah.
energy shift. How do you want to live your life? I mean, if you want to live your life that I'm fighting the next battle, that's your choice, but I don't. I'm dancing the next dance. Some songs I like more than others. That's okay. What can I do with what life? What song is playing? What
I
can I
love
do with
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. How can I make the best? It's a slow song, but I'm feeling like I want a fast song right now. How can I make the best of it? How can I make the most of this song that's on right now and still dance?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
And that's the
really,
energy.
yeah, it's the energy of it, right? It's all energy. And what I love about what you're saying about dance, and I talk to a lot people about this all the time, my clients, is it's one thing to know it up here and understand, oh, I know what I should do. I should do this. I should do that. It's a whole other thing to bring it down into your body and actually execute it. And that's where we change our energy. If you're not bringing it into your body and you're just thinking about it up here all day, you're not changing your energy.
Right.
And that's a great metaphor for that. Dancing, expressing, moving our bodies is the fastest way to change our minds.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. And a couple things too about dance. Humans are the only animal that like do this whole rhythm thing and create music. Music and dance is a uniquely human experience. And all kids bounce and dance and rock and sing and all have fun. Why do we stop?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we stop? Don't stop.
It's so true.
Yeah, you might not literally be skipping down the hall at work, but you know what? You can dance at home. You can bounce to music in your office. You can roll your shoulders. You're absolutely right. Get into your body. We are having a human experience. The human experience includes a body. Use that body.
Yeah. Amen. You're talking my talk. I mean, all the time, because it's not really about fitness. I mean, yeah, we love that side effect of it. It's all about managing this. And that's a quick way to manage your mind, because so many people are stuck in their heads and so many things are grabbing our attention. And that's something that you can make a choice about. Just like you said earlier, you started this by saying you had a choice to make. We always have a choice to make about how we want to live our lives. We just forget, you know, we just forget.
And I love how you said, like, if it's not the song that you wanted, sometimes that's when we are able to get in our bodies the most. Because if you're in a bebop, fun, hip hoppy song, it's easy to be a little bit distracted because you're just like, yay, I love this. I love this. When you have to think and go deep and go slow, sometimes that's when you really connect to your body, when you really realize I'm outside of my body right now. I need to re-embody my arms. Oh, these are my hands. Yeah, I'm in it. How can I am in it. Now I'm expressing. And it's that connection of the head and the heart and the body.
Absolutely. That's so powerful. And I think people forget, we take a lot of things for granted, and dance is one of those things where we're fully expressing. And that's where the joy comes from. The joy in life comes from deep inside. It's when we're creating something, and that's through dance or music or on a piece of paper or a beautiful meal, right? Or a beautiful relationship. And it's those moments where we feel as if we're creating something, that we're really living out our purpose in life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. And the other thing I love about dance is learning a new skill is hard. If you're learning to tango, it's hard. If you're learning to ballroom of any kind, it's hard. If you're learning jitterbug, whatever, it's hard. Even learning a new line dance, you get it wrong the first few times. You have to practice. You have to dance with it. You have to use that repetition, and you have to have the desire to learn. But when you want to learn a new line dance, you work through it, you push through it. You're like, yay, I got the first part. Oh, I forgot the end. Oh, now I've got it. And it's easy to bring that, or easier to think about that when you're learning a new skill. Maybe you're learning how to meditate. Maybe you're learning how to play piano after not playing it for 30 years. Maybe you're learning whatever it is. But if you think about it, I'm dancing with it. I don't have to be perfect. I can have a new job. I can transition areas. I can learn these new skills, and I can make a mess of it, and it's going to feel awkward. And then that awkwardness goes away, and it's okay to be awkward, because again, like you talked about the young people, the social media world, it's all perfect. I baked this cake and look at this beautiful thing. No. Dance with it, feel awkward, make mistakes, and then it'll get better. Or you will say, you know what? I don't enjoy this. I thought I would love cooking, and I just don't. So now I'm going to try gardening. We'll see how that works. If I like it, perfect. If not, hey, there's pickleball. I'll try that.
There's always pickleball. That's awesome. I love that. And it is. I mean, isn't life just a trial and error? But I love what you said about the fun. And what did you do? Because babies do, they dance, they groove before they even walk. And that's the thing. Why do we stop doing any of those things, right? And I feel like the same thing is true for our relationships. Why do we stop doing the things we did in the beginning when we fell in love with somebody?
Yes.
We stopped going on dates. We stopped saying nice things to each other. We stopped giggling and tickling and being playful, right? All that stuff we got to get down to business now. We got kids and we got a house and everything's falling apart, right? We get all serious. And I think what you said, that 3-letter word fun, is something that is really missing in our lives. Do you actually build fun into your schedule? I always ask people that, right?
Right. I've got this fetish finder worksheet that I have given people before, and it's a day planner, but that direction is to put in your fun first and then to put in your schedule. And it's crazy because people are always like, I have no fun in my schedule. And I'm like, well, look at your schedule. No wonder you're exhausted.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because we need that fun. We need to be invigorated. We are really just kids inside. We might be a certain age, but don't you just like, no, I'm not that age. I feel like a kid still, so That's when I try to get people to figure out what their passions are. I do the same thing. Go make
Yeah.
a list of everything you did when you were a kid, innately, before anybody socialized it out of you, wrung out your creativity. Make a list. What did you do? And it's amazing how many people will make a list. I used to paint. I loved painting. Well, do you paint now? No, I don't paint. I'm too busy. But we stop doing the things that make us feel alive. Yeah. And I think that's where we get in.
Yeah. And I was going to say along that too, we also develop this mindset that if it's not hard, it's not important or valuable. Because I know as a lawyer, if you have to run around stressed, because that way everybody can tell you're important. And if you're running around happy, you must not be that important.
Isn't that the irony?
It's crazy.
I love that. I know everybody can relate to that. And the happy people, though, it's amazing, because it's funny because people follow that. People chase that. That's why my clients dub me the professor of happiness and joy. They want some of what you got, and you start to get these followers, literally before we had followers on social media, but people who just want to know, what is it that you do? How do you get that incredible energy level? Because you have that, Lora. Your energy is so beautiful. It's so alive. It's so joyful, right? And so how do people get a piece of that? How can people work with you if they want to find out more about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. First thing they can do is they can go to betrayalrecoveryguide.com and they can download a copy of my Betrayal Recovery Guide. And yes, that's a little bit more focused towards the infidelity and betrayal, but it's all betrayal. If you feel betrayed because you've got a diagnosis, if you feel betrayed because you've lost a job, if you feel betrayed because all of a sudden you're an empty nester and you're like, wait, my identity was all around being a mom and now I'm not, it will help you move through that betrayal. And then that will put you in contact with me. You can also just go to my website, which is loracheadle.com. And my name is LoraCheadle. I spell Lora a little bit differently.
I'm glad you did that because as we know on radio, we have to spell things out. And Lora also has her own radio show. So tell us about that.
That show is called Flaunt, Create a Life You Love After Infidelity and Betrayal. And it is also on the amazing Dreamvision7.
Absolutely. So that's wonderful. And I love how you take betrayal and you really bring it into even the workforce. I mean, you talk about that maybe, burnout is really betrayal. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. That's my entire keynote is it's not burnout, it's betrayal. If you've ever felt burned out and then done some of those traditional remedies for burnout, like self-care or meditation, and you're like, it's not really working, or it's only working for a few minutes, chances are it's because you have felt betrayed, because your expectations were not met. Because moving into a new job where all like people are going to notice me and I'm going to be promoted in a couple of years and I'm going to love my job. And then when it doesn't happen, when our expectations are not met, it creates that sense of betrayal. Like, what did I do wrong? Why is my company doing this to me? Why is corporate America so awful? And then that sense of betrayal leads us to feeling cynical and exhausted and like, I don't want to give you one more extra ounce of energy because you owe me. That's betrayal. That's not burnout.
Wow. That is so insightful. And it's all about that expectation, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
amazing. That's amazing. I never thought about it like that, but it is so true because in a lot of ways we do feel betrayed. We feel betrayed by our government. We feel betrayed by the money system, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
there's so many ways that we've betrayed.
Oh, yeah.
We've been
COVID
betrayed.
was a global betrayal. None of us expected that. None of us anticipated that. And we're all like, what? I'm betrayed by my own immune system. You're telling me my immune system can't handle this? No, it can't. That's a betrayal.
Absolutely. And what I really find interesting is how we actually betray ourselves sometimes in relationship, right? And I feel like that's when things start to get bad because for a lot of people, they meld themselves into one and start to not say no to things that they don't want to do, or right? And that's when this betrayal, and I think that's part of the unraveling is that we've somehow betrayed ourselves in relationship. And that's a really huge thing to dig into.
especially you hit the nail on the head earlier as women, we're taught to betray ourselves. We're taught to be passive aggressive instead of direct. We're taught to smile when we feel pain. We're taught to say yes and to make other people happy. We're taught to self-betray.
Absolutely. Cry pretty, as you said.
Yeah.
It's so true. And when we can get rid of that and understand that, again, those are just stories in our head that somebody told us, someone well-being back before we were 7 years old, and we just put that little belief in our head, doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. And it's a great time to just get a piece of paper out and write down what those self-limiting beliefs are. What did you hear as a little girl about women? Sit still, be quiet, close your legs, sit like a lady, right? All these things by, okay, let's say supposedly well-meaning people in our lives because their mothers or their grandmothers told them. But is it really true for you anymore? And can you get rid of that? Can you go in there and just get rid of some of those beliefs?
Yeah. Yeah. Does it benefit you? How is it working out for you now?
Yeah. Yeah. Dr. Phil, how's that working for you?
Exactly.
How's that all working for you? Because you don't have to continue, because a belief, I think people put this big idea about beliefs that they're these big hairy things, right? When really they're not. It's just a thought that you kept thinking and you just keep thinking it. So if you created it and you're thinking that thought, well, you can stop thinking that thought as well.
Right. And if you stop thinking that thought and you don't like what's happening, go back to thinking it.
Yeah. Right. Play around with it. Play around with those beliefs. I love that. I love this conversation, Lora.
I do too. I feel like such good is coming out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've touched a lot of people here, and they can always go to the show notes on Dreamvision7 Radio or go to my website at carrierowan.com to get the details. It'll be up there. It's going to be live and every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m., as you guys know. And then you can download it anytime, share it with all your friends, go to Lora's website, find out more about her, download that workbook, because I think that's really powerful. And even though, like you said, it might not be betrayal in a relationship, there's always betrayal in our lives. And you gave some great examples. So thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a joy.
Awesome. And next time, maybe you'll do some dancing with your boa behind you.
Absolutely.
If you're just listening, you'll have to go and get the video afterwards to just see Lora in action with her beautiful background and her beautiful smile and her energy just radiating off the screen. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. This was amazing. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. Be well.
Thanks for tuning in to Look for the Good with your host, Carrie Rowan, best-selling author and mindset coach. Join us every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. right here at Dreamvision7 Radio Network. If you weren't able to catch an episode, no worries. Just visit our website to find all the archived episodes of Look for the Good on demand, so you don't miss a thing. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. For additional resources or to find out about how you can work with Carrie directly, visit carrierowan.com for more details.